Welcome to Fazza Poetry World, where hearts turn into poetry. Tonight, I will not just tell you a story. I will open a that learned how to feel before it learned how to speak. This is not just about love, this is about a silence that became poetry. People always asked, who is she? The one behind the words, the one behind the pauses, the one hidden between every line. That felt too real to be imagined. For years, his poetry walked among people like a mystery. Soft, deep, and untouchable. Every verse felt like it had lived a life before reaching paper. But no one knew whose reflection was hiding inside those words. They guessed. They imagined. They created stories to fill the silence he left behind. Some said she must be someone powerful, someone known, someone beautiful, in the way the world understands beauty. But the truth was quieter than all of that. And maybe that's why it stayed hidden for so long. Then one day, he didn't write. He didn't hide behind metaphors. He didn't let poetry speak for him. He spoke himself. Clear. Simple. Honest. And sometimes, honesty carries more weight than the most beautiful poem. He said, she was older than me. And the world paused. Not because it was shocking, but because it was real. There was no fear in his voice. No hesitation. Only respect. Only pride. Because when something is true, you don't need to decorate it. He didn't describe her like the world describes beauty. No perfect features. No glamorous image. Instead, he described peace. A calm presence. A quiet strength. The kind of person who doesn't enter your life loudly, but changes everything silently. He said, she didn't teach me how to write poetry, she taught me how to feel it. And suddenly, every poem he had ever written made sense. Because real poetry is not written by words, it is written by experiences that leave marks on your soul. She came into his life not when everything was perfect, but when he needed something the world could not give him. Not fame. Not success. Not applause. He needed understanding. And she gave him that. Without asking for anything in return. She was not a celebrity. She was not surrounded by cameras. She didn't belong to the noise of the world. She belonged to silence. And sometimes, silence is where the deepest connections are born. He found in her something rare. Not excitement, but peace. Not chaos, but clarity. Not pressure, but comfort. Because love is not always loud. Sometimes, love is the quiet feeling that everything is finally okay. He said, beauty fades, but presence stays. And if you listen closely, you'll understand. He wasn't talking about appearance. He was talking about the way someone makes you feel, even when they say nothing at all. Words can lie, but silence always tells the truth. And maybe that's why his poetry was always so honest. Because it was born from moments where words were not needed. People expected him to hide this truth, to protect his image, to protect the idea they had created about him. But he chose something else. Truth over perfection. And that is not easy when the world is watching. Because the world doesn't always understand real love. It measures everything: age, status, appearance. But real love doesn't follow those rules. Real love is not about what looks good. It is about what feels right. He made it clear, this was not just romance. This was growth. She didn't just touch his heart. She shaped his soul. Through her, he learned patience. Through her, he understood kindness. Through her, he discovered humility. And slowly, he didn't just become a better poet. He became a better human being. Sometimes, the most important people in our lives are not the ones who stay forever, but the ones who change us forever. After he spoke the truth, something changed. Not in the world, but in him. He seemed lighter, as if he had been carrying a secret for too long. And finally, he put it down. His words changed too. They became softer, more open, more real. Because when you stop hiding, your soul finally learns how to breathe. People kept asking, who is she? But maybe that was never the point. Because sometimes names don't matter. Faces don't matter. What matters is what someone leaves behind inside you. She remained unknown to the world, but not to his heart. And maybe that's where she truly belonged. He once said, some people come into our lives not to stay forever, but to change us. And in that one line, he told the whole story. Because love is not always about holding on. Sometimes, it is about becoming someone new. Because of someone. This story, it is not about a prince and a perfect love story. It is about something deeper. A connection that didn't need the world's approval. It reminds us that love is not about age, not about beauty, not about status. It is about how someone makes you feel when the world is quiet. It is about peace, respect, understanding, and sometimes, the strongest love is the one no one ever sees. So if you are listening tonight, remember this. Not every love story needs an ending. Not every connection needs a name. Some people are not meant to stay. They are meant to transform you. And when they leave, they don't take anything away. They leave a version of you that is stronger, softer, and more real than before. And maybe, that is the most beautiful kind of love. Because in the end, it was never about who she was. It was about who he became because of her. And maybe, the story did not end there. Because some stories don't end. They echo. After he spoke, after the truth found its way into the world, silence returned. But this silence was different. It was not hiding anymore. It was healing. He no longer wrote to hide his feelings, he wrote to honor them. Every word now carried gratitude. Every pause felt like a prayer. Because when someone teaches you how to feel, you don't forget them. Even if they are no longer standing beside you. People still searched for her. They wanted a face, a name, a story they could understand in simple terms. But some truths are not meant to be simplified. She was not a chapter you could read quickly, she was a feeling you had to live to understand. Maybe she walked away. Maybe life took her in a different direction. Or maybe, she stayed. Just not in a way the world could see. Because not every presence is physical. Some people stay in your habits, in your thoughts, in the way you look at the world. After they're gone, he started noticing small things more. The way silence felt comforting, the way pain carried lessons, the way love didn't always need to be loud, to be real. And slowly, his poetry stopped chasing perfection. It started embracing truth. He wrote about nights that didn't need stars, because sometimes, peace itself is enough light. He wrote about memories that didn't hurt anymore, because time had turned them into quiet strength. And somewhere between those lines, she still existed. Not as a person the world could point to, but as a feeling that refused to fade. He never spoke her name again. Not because he forgot, but because Some names are too sacred to be shared with noise. And maybe that's love too. Protecting someone, even when they are not yours anymore. People thought love meant possession, but he showed something else. Love can also mean letting go with respect, carrying memories without turning them into pain. Because real love does not demand, it understands. Sometimes, he would sit quietly, no pen, no paper, just thoughts flowing like a river inside him. And maybe that was her presence, still guiding him, still calming him, still reminding him that not everything needs to be said to be felt. He became softer, but not weaker. Stronger, but not harder. Because she had taught him balance. And that is rare in a world that pushes you to be extreme, too strong, too cold, too distant. She showed him how to be human, how to feel deeply, without losing yourself, how to love, without needing to control. And slowly, people stopped asking, who was she? Because they started realizing the real question was never about her identity. The real question was, what kind of love leaves a person? This changed what kind of connection turns silence into poetry, pain into wisdom, and memories into strength. That is not ordinary love. That is something deeper, something rare. And maybe that is why he never tried to explain it fully. Because some feelings lose their beauty when you try to define them. They are meant to be felt, not analyzed. Even now, when he writes, there is a calmness in his words, a maturity that comes only from experience, a softness that comes only from understanding what truly matters. And if you listen closely, you will still hear her. Not in his voice, but in the peace between his words. Because she didn't just inspire his poetry, she became a part of it. A part that will never be removed. A part that will always live quietly, in every line. That feels too real to be imagined. So maybe, the world will never know who she was. But the world doesn't need to know. Because her purpose was never to be known. Her purpose was to change him. And she did. Completely. And sometimes, that is the most powerful kind of love. The one that doesn't stay, but never truly leaves? And maybe, if you have ever felt something like this, you already understand. Because this story, it is not just his. It belongs to anyone who has ever been changed by someone they could never fully explain. And if you are still listening, then maybe somewhere in your heart, you are remembering someone too.